When I returned home from a 3-day work conference in Seattle, tired, I froze in shock at what my property had become. Our family property, a flat, well-kept field just outside the suburbs that had been passed down through generations since 1972, had been transformed into an impromptu site for an HOA Gala. The entrance was blocked off with ribbons. There were welcome signs everywhere, flags, tents, and portable toilets. Parking spaces were painted in thick white lines on the grass, wooden posts were driven in, and garlands hung. In the center of the field was a huge white stage and a fountain from which champagne was squirting into the air. I couldn't believe my eyes. As soon as I got out of the car, Karen, the head of the HOA, walked slowly toward me. She had a nasty, confident smirk on her face, and her voice sounded as if she had done nothing wrong.
Well, you showed up.
She snorted, giving me a disdainful look.
I hope you're not going to throw a fit. The boys have already set everything up, so you can relax.
This is my land, I said through gritted teeth. What the hell have you done here? Karen waved me away as if I were an annoying fly.
Calm down, snot-nosed brat. The field was empty, overgrown with weeds. The HOA decided that it should be put to good use. We made a holiday here. People need it, unlike your damn laziness.
Are you crazy? Do you have any idea that you're illegally trespassing on private property? Do you think anyone cares? She laughed, crossing her arms.
No one needs you. You can wipe your ass with your papers. The area looked abandoned, which means the community has the right to clean it up. We installed a parking lot, provided food, set up a stage. Where were you all this time, huh?
I was at a conference. This is no reason to interfere with my property.
This is a reason to understand that you are a worthless owner.
She threw, looking straight into my face.
Now step aside. Do not interfere with adults working.
When I took out my phone to call the police, Karen took out hers first and said with a smirk,
Just try. This is a private residential area. They will not even stick their nose in here without a warrant. Do you think you are the first to complain about the HOA? Ask those we have already driven out of here.
I stood there and felt my fists clench, but the explosion would have only played into her hands. Instead, I retreated temporarily. It all started with the fact that I left for just 3 days, for a work conference in Seattle where I had to present an analytical report for the federal department. A routine business trip, nothing special. I left calmly. The site was in order, the documents were in full order, and there were no signs of threat or interference. The land I inherited from my father had always been a place of peace for me, a symbol of stability and family continuity. I could not even imagine that in such a short time, everything would change beyond recognition. I spent the next few days collecting evidence. I filmed how the cars of Karen's guests destroyed my fence, how huge posts were driven into the ground, damaging the roots of my old apple trees, how portable toilets were placed, right next to the well. I photographed fuel spills, knocked down irrigation sections, garbage and cables stretching to the stage. All this is evidence of trespassing, pollution, vandalism. But most importantly, I remembered the old bypass electrical network under the site. This network had been feeding the irrigation system since the 90s, and although it had been disconnected for a long time, I partially restored it, just in case of force majeure, and now it had arrived. On the eve of the gala, I checked the system. The energy flow was redirected. A small button on the control panel hidden in my basement now controlled the power supply to the central area that Karen had chosen. And then the evening came. Hundreds of guests, music, a buffet, camera flashes. Karen came out on stage with a microphone, stood in the spotlight. She began her speech, loud, smug, with her signature mockery.
Good evening. I'm glad that we, unlike some, know how to turn dead zones into living space. Yes, I'm talking about that very abandoned site. Now he serves people, not because of, but in spite of.
At that moment, I pressed the button. The lights went out. The music stopped. The champagne fountain wheezed, sparked, and died. The generators tried to start and immediately died. The guests panicked. People screamed, stumbled, slipped on the wet grass. Tablecloths flew away. Food lay on the ground. Karen grabbed the microphone, which no longer worked, and screamed into the darkness.
Who turned off the lights? Who the hell did this? I'll sue you, idiots. This is sabotage.
I stood by my fence, silently watching. In the darkness, illuminated only by the reflections of the flashes, I felt justice being restored. People began to disperse, loudly expressing their discontent. The next day, notes began to arrive in my mailbox, anonymous words of support. Someone put a hot apple pie with a note, "Forgive us for Karen." People were tired. I collected the documents and filed a complaint with the county zoning department. Lisa, a young, attentive employee of the department, conducted a full inspection. The following were recorded on the site: unauthorized connection to the power grid, unauthorized construction, violation of boundaries and sanitary standards. Karen, without losing her impudence, tried to justify herself.
This psycho could have killed everyone. He cut off our power. He put everyone in danger. He is a maniac.
But Lisa interrupted her calmly but firmly.
Miss Wallace, all the materials confirm that you occupied private territory without permission, installed utilities, and held an event, thereby violating 6 points of the administrative code. You face not only disqualification, but also personal criminal liability.
When Karen tried to scream, Lisa turned her back to her. 2 days later, an extraordinary meeting of the HOA was held in the area. Almost the entire area gathered. People came with documents, complaints, copies of correspondence. Stewart, a member of the council, read out a motion to remove Karen. Melanie added that Karen had been stealing money from the HOA reserve fund for her initiatives for 2 years.
This is slander.
Karen screamed, raising her voice to a squeal.
Ungrateful rats. Without me, this area would have drowned in mud, and your children would be playing among glass and syringes.
But silence reigned in the hall. The people gathered in the school assembly hall looked at her without their previous fear. Everyone had just voted via tablets and phones. The result appeared on the screen: 91% for Karen's immediate removal. Several percent abstained, only 2 of her entourage were against. Her face turned pale. There was no longer anger in her eyes, but panic. Karen rushed about, trying to shout something accusatory, but her words were lost in the silence. No one supported her. Even her closest allies turned away. When she was let out, it seemed like the district exhaled. The new HOA, elected a week later, first of all conducted an audit. What they discovered shocked many. Fictitious contracts, double-entry bookkeeping, land fraud and kickbacks. Some documents were legally null and void, but were certified by signatures. The commission transferred the materials to the district legal department. The investigation began. Some of the money transferred to Karen's funds was returned. As it turned out, a large sum was laundered, but almost not spent. Her greed played into the hands of the investigation. After the confiscation of property, the district was able to cover its debts and restore its financial balance.